Balance is a fragile thing. Once, the Guardians walked among us, ancient spirits of boundless power, protectors of the land. Beside them stood the Wildkeepers, their chosen partners, united by an ancient bond that wove their fates together. But peace demands sacrifice. When the monstrous horde rose to consume all, the Guardians gave everything to protect us, and the veil between our worlds collapsed. With their connection severed, the Wildkeepers were cast adrift. Now the land stirs once more. Creatures born of corruption spill across the horizon. This is not the chaos of nature. It is something darker, something cruel. And so, Ophelia, one of the few who still bears the mark of the Wildkeepers, leaves the safety of her village. Guided by the memory of a bond she has never known, she steps into the wilds. But she is yet to return. slime horror fell, its grotesque form collapsing under the combined strength of the Wildkeepers and the Guardians. But the air trembled with the aftermath. A surge of magic erupted, raw and unrestrained, pulling the Wildkeepers toward a place of ruin and silence, the Sand Sea. Once lush and teeming with life, now a barren wasteland. It was there that the Guardians made their last stand nearly a century ago. I remember that battle, the way terror gripped my heart. But the Wildkeepers fought then as they do now, not without fear, but in spite of it. I will not let fear claim me again. stone shattered as the rock giant fell. Then came the magic pulse, wild just as before, but this time it burrowed deep, guiding the Wildkeepers underground. There in the cavern's heart, he waited, a boy, motionless, frozen in time. I knew his name, Milo Ironjaw, lost during the war. The Guardians unraveled the spell, and Milo awoke to a world that had moved without him. He had set out for the old Wildkeeper's sanctum, searching for help in the war's darkest hour. But when the rift between worlds collapsed, so too did his place in time. Now, with battle on the horizon, he seemed ready, almost eager, and he was the only one smiling.